Okay, so we've got yet another edition of the BMW X5. This is actually the fifth generation of the car, bringing the new no cluster styling that we've seen on the iX3 and the i3 already, as well as some updates to the architecture and 5 new powertrains. So let's get into some of the key details now. Starting off with the size, it's about 60 millimeters longer. I think generation from generation, the car has slowly been getting a lot bigger. Now, apparently, the X3 is quite similar in size to the original first generation X5. So that really shows how big these cars are getting. There's 5 different powertrains now. They've got a petrol, diesel, PHEV, electric, the BMW i8 X5, and then you've also got a new hydrogen variety as well, which we don't have a lot of details on, but that's presumably going to be coming a bit later than the other cars. In terms of power, the top of the range EV car has 425 kilowatts, 845 kilometers of range on a WLTP cycle. And the charging speed is quite strong, so up to 460 kilowatts. And the battery size is massive. So you've got 141 kilowatt hour battery, which probably contributes to that range figure that you've got there. In terms of the PHEV powertrain, it's quite similar in terms of power. So you got 450 kilowatts, 612 HP. So these two variants, the PHEV and the EV in the 60 editions, are probably going to be the flagships in terms of performance. And then you've got other models sitting under that. And then you've also got the hydrogen powertrain, which we don't have much details on in terms of power and performance, but it's claimed to have 750 kilometers of range. And really, it's probably, again, still in a very experimental stage, but it's cool to see the BMW that's trying to push the boundaries here and offer everything. And it's all on one platform. So it's on the Clara platform rather than the Neue Klasse platform. So they've done some pretty cool trickery here to make sure that all the powertrains can fit. The new electric architecture is still included within this older platform. And by all reports, the space inside the packaging is quite strong, so it doesn't really feel like it's a compromised car, which can be the case. For example, the existing BMW i4, it's built on a combustion platform, and the space inside is definitely very compromised because it's trying to fit an electric powertrain. The car that was designed for an ICE powertrain, but they really does some good stuff here to make sure that doesn't matter what powertrain you pick, you really aren't compromised. You might have a bit of boot space that's reduced when you choose the PHEV powertrain, for example, but overall space inside for occupants should be quite good. In terms of the iX5, so you've got bi-directional charging support as well. So V2L, vehicle to load, V2H, vehicle to home, and also vehicle to grid as well to get a bit of money back, as all supported. And in terms of styling, they made some changes here too. So you've got the new BMW winglet recessed door handles, which you can touch to open. And then they can also open automatically as well, which we saw in the recently revealed Q7. So these are historical features you usually see in the top of the line cars, think like the BMW 7 Series, Mercedes S-Class. So now they're bringing it down to the level below. And this is probably driven by the Chinese market, where they really value that comfort and luxury feeling and all the features associated with it. And bringing into a little bit more mainstream vehicle just means that you're appeasing more of those customers as well. What's cool about the technology in the electric car is that the battery cells are actually 20% higher in density. So that really helps with some of the efficiency gains and ensuring that the range is as strong as it is. So a lot of big changes here. Some of the features might be a little bit gimmicky, especially with things like the new door handles, electrically operated doors. They've also removed some things too, so there's no longer a split tailgate anymore, which is much loved in the previous generation of the car. I'm a little bit skeptical about some of the functionality, some of these electrical components, how they'll fare over time, whether that's going to contribute to some unreliability there. But that's the decision that they've made to try and push in these different directions and maybe try to differentiate from some of the more mainstream electric and Chinese vehicles that maybe are coming close in terms of some of the showroom appeal and luxurious features. So BMW really have to try and find a way to distinguish themselves from those crop of cars. Okay, let's dive a little bit deeper now into the exterior of the car, which is very much what you would expect after you see the iX3, but it does have a few changes as well to make it a little bit more unique to the X5. So starting off here with the front of the car. So you can see here, the front looks very similar to the iX3. It's definitely got a little bit of its own identity there as well. So you can see, especially with the headlamps here, we've got this new X motif going on here. It's a very much a distinctive look for the brand. not really the angel eyes of the past, and not really the new Neue Klasse slashes that we've seen in the iX3 and the i3 as well. It's basically a whole new identity, and the X is meant to represent the fact that it's an X5. So trying to bring a bit more distinctiveness there. It's not going to be for everyone. It probably looks a little bit like an emoji, something like this. So it's a little bit strange in some ways, but it is distinctive. And you can actually turn off this little middle slash here. So these lashes can be turned off. So it just looks like a generic kind of slash here like this instead. So yeah, I mean, it's different. They're trying to experiment BMW. I think that's what probably draws a lot of people to them these days. They're happy to try and switch things up a little bit, but yeah, it's not going to be for everyone. Down here in the lower section, you can see it's a little bit more conventional. You got these side air curtains here, which look decent. And you got this lower bumper, which really accentuates the height of the car, especially compared to the i3 here. It really makes it feel quite vertical. You can see here, and a better look at the front view as well. You can definitely see that it's very much a imposing type design. We've got some of the other distinctive features from the previous Neue Klasse models that are revealed. Something like this valley design here has been brought up, and they've tried to bring that into the lower section here where it's divided in the middle. So it looks like this valley is running straight through the car like so. So look, it's cool. It's quite a nice mixture of different design and key distinctive elements. I like that they keep trying to push the boundaries here. They don't just try and stick to one little element and put it all over the car, like a Mercedes style, which doesn't matter which model you look at these days. It seems like they just try to make sure that that star is basically everywhere in the vehicle. But here, BMW, they've tried to explore a few different motifs here, which is nice to see for sure. In terms of the side profile of the car here, you can see that they've gone for a very monolithic look. So I'd say that it's probably not as distinctive as the previous generation. I thought the previous generation was a really handsome looking car. Here, they've tried to create this monolithic look, which has really taken off in the last few years. Things like even the Tesla Cybertruck, Jaguar Tab 00, they're all trying to create this motif where it just looks like the cars have been built out of one single block. So the absence of door handles here and here, and then freeing it up by creating these winglets here, really accentuates that clean look that you've got here. But I think it loses a little bit of character for sure. I think they tried to create some of that character with these arches here, but overall, I don't know. It looks okay. I think it looks better than the BMW iX, which really maybe started that monolithic look for BMW. I think it has a little bit more character here, and I think that proportionally it looks a bit stronger as well. But I don't know. I think for me, it's probably not as good as looking as the previous generation and even the third or second generation cars, which I think probably the second generation car for me peaked in terms of styling for the BMW X5. Last generation, well, again, was another kind of return to form, but I think this might be a slight step back in terms of side profile. In terms of wheels here, these go up to 23, and you can see you probably need those 23s in order to fill these massive wheel arches. I don't think it would look great in a lower spec, but that seems the case with a lot of these cars today. Any kind of entry-level even mid-spec models generally don't look as good, unfortunately. But that just seems to be how it is these days. All right, so moving on to the back now, you can see here that the back very much looks like the iX3. So you've got that similar, almost full width light bar here. It's not quite a full width light bar. You've still got that valley, which is echoed from the front there, that kind of breaks up what would otherwise be a full width light bar. It's switched up a little bit from the iX3. So you can see here, you've got these little indents here, which kind of echo the front a little bit. Not necessarily the two X's, but maybe the fact that there's like two daytime running lamps, the kind of dual motif, which has been shown in the front, has tried to be replicated a little bit here. And I think it looks cool. Yeah, it's a little bit more distinctiveness to this car to differentiate it from the other Neue Klasse models. The bottom here is a very interesting treatment. It's like a V type treatment, and it goes down. Again, I think it's trying to evoke this sort of like valley look that you see echoed here. So a lot of these design themes are repeated throughout the car, but in a kind of tasteful and in a way that's got a little bit of variety and variation as well, which is nice to see. And then you've seen these kind of hockey stick type elements, graphical elements before in BMWs as well. So yeah, I think the rear of the car is probably the strongest part of the car for sure. The front is okay. I think it'll grow on a lot of people. The side for me is definitely the weakest part of the car. I think they tried to create something interesting with these door handles, which seem very over-engineered to me. And apparently, in the event of an accident or crash, you can actually pull these so that you can get out of the car. Right? Why don't you just have physical door handles? This seems the easy solution. They seem to be trying to create a solution for a problem that doesn't exist, but they're trying to find a way, I guess, to keep changing things up at BMW. You've got a more standard looking model here as well at the bottom. So if we move here, I love this emerald green color. I think most cars probably look good in this color. It's a little bit more restrained here. You can definitely see with the lower section as well. It looks quite different, quite nice here. A lot more restrained, which is good to see. Sometimes these M packages add a bit too much aggression for a car that doesn't really seem it was designed for it. And I do feel like this spec looks a lot nicer for sure in my books. If we move on to the side, I think just having that M Sport package removed and adding a little bit more restraint to the car gives it a little bit more class, especially this color as well, probably adds a little bit more dynamicism to the car too, compared to that stale type of gray color that seems to be used in a lot of cars. Mainly to accentuate the monolithic look, but it takes away from some of the character of the car, I would say. So yeah, I think for me, I'd probably get it in this color here. And I do think you would get it without the M Sport package as well. Even here, you can see in the lower section, it's a lot more restrained, no kind of crazy V shape, just a more subtle V shape. This looks a lot better for me. I think overall, the car looks okay. I don't even think it looks as good as the iX3, but it's the X5. It has a huge brand name. People love it. Families love it. Soccer moms love it. Basically, it's BMW's most distinctive SUV, so I still think people will buy this in droves. Okay, let's have a look at the interior now. Moving on here, again, it looks very similar to what we've seen in a lot of newer classic cars. So not a huge difference here from what we've seen already in the iX3 and i3. Starting off here, you've got the steering wheel, which we've seen before, that weird kind of steering wheel where you've got spokes at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock as well. Don't know why they're doing that, but I guess it's BMW again trying to do something different. And I guess because you've got that raised section here where you've got that eye level view, the kind of eyebrow display, I guess you don't need necessarily to have this section here free because you can see that line of vision is raised a little bit more. So they're just trying to put something there to create a bit of symmetry here, but I don't know. I don't think that looks that great for me. Yeah, you've got this kind of eyebrow display again that we've seen before with the new version of iDrive, panoramic iDrive. Similar type of screen that we've seen in the iX3 that's a pretty cool shape. It does look like they tried to design it a bit more. I think it's also driver focus and angle to the driver a bit like we've seen in the i3. So that's always a good thing. And then now we've seen this new passenger display as well. So we first saw this on the facelifted 7 Series. And then they brought it here as well. And this is quite interesting, actually. A lot of cars are trying to go down this route now where they've got this passenger display as well. Here, at least, it looks a little bit better integrated than it does in some other cars, thinking like the Audis, where it just looks like it's tacked on. And apparently, it's optional. So if you don't spec this, I think they finish it quite nicely in a nice trim. It doesn't just look like a blank slot that Audi seems to do if you don't spec the passenger screen. So yeah, I think it probably isn't the worst implementation I've ever seen. It's probably unnecessary still, but for those who want it, you can get it. What's interesting about it is that it's a little bit recessed here. So this is actually a little bit further back than the main display that you've got. So you can see here, there's probably a better angle of it where you've got this screen and then you've got the passenger screen just behind it and sitting more flush with the panel here at the dashboard. So I think that one helps. If you're sitting here in the driver and you're focusing ahead, then you can't really see the screen as much from the passenger side. And if you are looking at it for a while, there are cameras in place that will automatically turn the screen off so you're not distracted by the passenger watching YouTube or whatever they're trying to look at on that screen. In terms of other interesting parts of the interior, so you've got a new finish here. They're very proud of BMW. This is a new slate finish, so real stone they've used here. Normally you see just wood grain or piano black, which apparently is still there on a base spec. So it's cool to see new materials being experimented with. It'll be interesting to see how durable this is. I'm sure it's a lot nicer than the piano black, which probably gets scratched within 1 minute of driving the car. And then you've also got the crystal elements here that was first introduced on the BMW iX. So it's nice to see that being continued on as well. It always adds a little bit of flashiness, a little bit of premium, luxurious feel to the car. So that's the kind of front of the interior. In terms of the rear, you've got some new interesting features as well. So if we move on to the seats here, you've got accessories. So you can add an accessory right here, which is cool. And this allows you to mount your phone to the back of the seat. And that's just a nice compromise rather than having to have a fixed display there that's going to get outdated. If you have kids or family or anyone that's just in the rear seat, they can just mount their display, whether it's a phone, an iPad, or their latest tablet, and be on their merry way. It's a lot better than having a screen in the back of the armrest, which I think they have in Teslas, but you're always craning your neck to look at. So this is more at an eye level, which is cool to see. So that's a pretty cool innovation there. And then the rear air vents here are fully featured. So you've got dual zone climate control for both seats in the back too. So pretty comfortable rear experience here. You've even got a nice little pillow that you can add to the middle rear seat here. So if you're not sitting 5 but sitting 4, then just treating them like captain chairs almost. Then you've got a nice little armrest here, which looks quite nice. And of course you've got pillows here as well. So it definitely feels a lot more closer to a 7 Series than the X5 has ever been before. I think it'll definitely appeal to those that are just looking for a car that's trying to be comfortable, luxurious, almost like a Grand Tourer. So that's the direction BMW are moving in with the interior. Let's move on now to the comparison with the previous generation of the car. So I still think this is probably one of the best looking BMWs in the last 10 years, the last generation X5. I think it actually looks a little bit worse in the facelift, if I'm honest. But the original non-LCI version of this car, for me, just looked fantastic. And it was a huge step up from the 3rd generation of the car. It's a huge difference, though. You can definitely see that is a big difference from the previous generation. Gone is a traditional BMW grille that we've seen for a long time into this newer class, thinner, narrower nostril type design. You no longer got anything that really remotely resembles angel eyes. Now it's just basically these X's or slashes if you want slashes. So very, very different. I definitely think that the previous generation looked better in that regard. You can see how beautiful the side profile was in the previous generation car. Just a lot of sculpting going on here. This nice little crease that went through here. A lot of attention to detail. This kind of side vent here. It's kind of finishing here on the side skirts as well. Even these wheels look a little bit nicer for me. Got that chrome strip running through. Just classic, nice BMW style. These lines as well, really accentuating the front and rear. Just a lot nicer than this monolithic look. So I really hope this trend dies out soon and we start seeing a bit more character in cars again. And then finally, the rear end. As I said, I think in the new generation car, the rear end is probably the strongest part. The previous car looked nice as well. I remember when it first came out, this rear end, it didn't really have those L-shaped tail lamps that the X5 was known for, and a little bit of backlash because of that. I think it grew on people, and with the LCI, they added some new light signatures as well, so it looks a little bit more like an X here and here. I think in terms of sportiness, the new generation car looks a lot sportier. I think it's an improvement. The only sad thing, or the only kind of downgrade, is probably that split tailgate, which allowed you to split both this section of the car here and in this section. So you could just sit on the split tailgate there. But they've removed that in the new generation car for conflicting reasons. One, for styling purposes. They felt this was a little bit more monolithic looking. I've had other reasons. I guess because of weight, but it would have only saved like 20 or something kilograms, where it's already going to be super heavy with the electric and fair powertrains. So who knows? They probably just did a bit of market research there, felt like they could get away with removing it, but there's been a lot of backlash online about it. And then you've got the interior here. I think this was probably peak BMW interior, at least in the last 10 years. Perfect combination of real buttons, great high quality materials. This was a huge step up from the previous car, this 4th generation X5. It got a little bit more tacky, I felt, with the LCI, with the addition of some of these LEDs that were added here. But overall, I think it's a really nice looking interior, very ergonomic. This is just a classic BMW steering wheel here. You got real buttons, hallelujah, real buttons. That 3-spoke design, very sporty. Yeah, just a really like a close to perfection interior. There was no need to switch it up this much. I don't know why. I think this generation already has switched it up a lot. And it was necessary because BMW had very similar looking interiors for like 10 years previous to this. So they've changed things quite a lot in the last few years, which is really, really interesting. But yeah, I don't know why they had to change it up this much. I guess the interior in the previous generation for me definitely wins out. So yeah, that's how it is. That's the new generation X5. Definitely, they're trying to push the boundaries a bit more in terms of powertrain, some of the new technologies as well. Styling is a huge difference to before. It's still probably going to sell like hotcakes, but I still prefer the previous generations. But keen to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next one.